War did not change the day the missiles were launched. War collapsed the moment machines stopped seeing the future. The sky was no longer empty space. It had become a living equation. Every radar was drawing lines. Every AI was predicting outcomes. Every system believed it understood what would happen next. Then something rose. It did not move straight. It paused, adjusted, shifted direction, and rewrote its own path, as if something unseen was thinking. It wasn't the fastest. It wasn't the most destructive. But it broke one thing: certainty. And the moment certainty breaks, control does not survive. In that instant, systems did not stop calculating. They started calculating wrong. Predictions began to collapse. Interceptions slowed. Every response fell one step behind. The battlefield gave it a name: the prediction breaker. But no system could define what it truly was, because it was not just a missile. It was a mindset. And behind that mindset stood the Desert Sovereign, a system that does not control war through firepower, but through logic. It understands one thing: you don't need to dominate the sky, you only need to break its rules. Opposing it stood the Twin Thrones, masters of the sky, built on data models and perfect answers. Their belief was simple: if we can see it, we can stop it. But their entire system depended on one fragile pillar: predictability. And the day predictability disappeared, their systems felt doubt for the first time. Far away, the glass kingdoms stood illuminated. Cities powered by wealth, economies driven by oil, but fragile beneath the surface. For the first time, they realized protection is not the same as safety. Above them, shields existed, but beneath them they were exposed. Then, from the shadows, another network activated: the silent web. No borders, no flags, only signals, launches, and confusion. Every strike raised a question: where did it come from? And when origin becomes unclear, response becomes slower. But the most dangerous system still remained: the Iron Shield Grid, the most advanced defense ever built. Layer upon layer, system upon system, billions in technology. But it had one fatal condition: it only worked when the threat was predictable. Straight lines, fixed speeds, known patterns. But now, there were no straight lines, no constant speeds, no patterns to follow. And when a system cannot understand the threat, it can only react. It cannot think. And in war, a system that only reacts is always late. And what is late loses control. For decades, the same mistake was repeated. Power was defined as controlling the sky, but the Desert Sovereign saw something different. If you cannot control the sky, you can break its logic. That is where the shift began. Sanctions came, pressure came, isolation came. But instead of collapse, it triggered evolution. Where other systems stalled, this system adapted. It did not chase speed. It rewrote logic. It built systems that do not wait. They are always ready. Launchers that are never seen, they simply appear. Range that removes distance. No target is truly safe anymore. And then, quietly, without noisy, a system was activated: the Haj Qassem system. People believed it was just a new missile. They were wrong. It was not a weapon. It was a philosophy. A system where you do not decide when the strike happens. You do not choose where it comes from. You only react. And when you are only reacting, you are already too late. Its most dangerous feature was not its explosion. It was its unpredictability. It could come any time, from anywhere, and when it arrives, you are forced to respond before you even understand it. And in war, the greatest disadvantage is this: when you are not thinking, you are only trying to survive. This is where fire did not become uncatchable. This is where war became unmanageable. And in that year, war lost its shape. Conflicts were once tied to geography. Maps defined battlefields. Front lines defined danger. But now, war no longer belonged to location. A new pattern emerged. Slow at first, then sudden, then overwhelming. hundreds of missiles, thousands of drones, all at once, from multiple directions. This was not an attack, it was pressure architecture. Each launch had a purpose: to confuse, to exhaust. Targets were not random. The silent kingdom, where every siren fractures psychology. The distant Titan's bases, where presence itself is power. The glass kingdom's arteries, where disruption becomes global shock. Then, another fracture opened. From the south, the southern flame entered, not officially part of the war, but effectively expanding it. Now missiles were not coming from one direction, not from one command, not from one geography, but from a network. Decentralized, layered, unpredictable. And this is where everything broke. Because traditional war depends on one rule: know where the threat is coming from. But now, the threat was everywhere, and nowhere. Borders still existed, but war no longer respected them. And in that moment, war left geography behind. It no longer happens in places, it happens inside systems. From here, war reveals its true form. It is no longer about explosions. It becomes a game of numbers. On the surface, everything looks normal. Missile, interceptor, explosion, survival. But beneath it, a silent equation is running. The iron shield grid defends, but every defense has a cost. Every incoming threat demands: launch an interceptor, spend millions, stay on constant alert, and then again, and it again. Fatigue does not hit machines first, it hits systems. Resources drain, operators exhaust, decisions slow. Meanwhile, the desert sovereign does not rush. It does not flood the battlefield, it forces collapse, selective strikes, precise timing, low cost, high disruption. Each strike is not about destruction, it is about stretching the system, and slowly, balance shifts. Defense survives each wave, but at a growing cost. Attack doesn't win every wave, but every wave is cheaper. And then a dangerous truth emerges: a system does not break when it is hit, it breaks when it cannot sustain. This is the gap, the sacrifice gap, where one side keeps spending more, while the other spends just enough. And when that gap grows, collapse is no longer an event, it becomes a process, and a new rule is written. War is not won by destruction, war is won by forcing the enemy system to destroy itself.